Good evening, Ramblers. Paul Mountain here to try and answer the question, can the Blades beat Leeds United on Monday evening? Now, a lot of us are a little apprehensive, but should we be apprehensive? Both sides have scored 72 points this season. As Wilder keeps pointing out to us, he doesn't recognise that 2-point deduction. And United have won more matches. And so I'm just here to have a look at the two sides, break down some of the key battles on the pitch and see if there is a chance for Sheffield United, because there's a lot of noise at the moment about Leeds United. They carry a lot of fanfare. They've been winning games at a canter and really putting teams to bed in some style. And that has affected the statistics for goals scored and against, and the goal difference gets wider and wider. But the points tally remain the same. And what does that mean for this game and how important is it? Personally, it's got to be the most important game of the season so far. It may be the most important simply because of the timing compared to the one at Ellen Road earlier on in the season, where Leeds United came in and dominated the game, shut Sheffield United out. It's fair to say 0 shots on target in that particular game, and it was all the way back in October, a long time ago, when there was about 10 games gone in the season. Yeah, not great memories for Sheffield United supporters. Obviously, the second half, Leeds managed to break the seal and then get the second goal in injury time. I looked again back at that game and looked back at those teams as well. So there's quite a big potential for a lot of difference in the Sheffield United side. I don't see a massive difference in the Leeds side. They've sort of replaced a couple of the key players in attack with guys who've been a bit more consistent this season. But we'll get into that as we go through. So the team that played back then, Cooper in goal, as always, the number one for Sheffield United and the division. Ahmed Hodzic in at centre-half with Harry Souttar, who's obviously back at Leicester now, nursing that injury. Norrington Davis started the game, along with Souza. Shackleton, who I think there was a bit of nostalgia there from Wilder in picking him. Hamer, obviously, who came off after an hour. Arblaster, who's out for the season. Burrows, O'Hare and Kiefer Moore up front. So there's potential there for 5 or 6 changes to the side that will play at Bramall Lane on Monday night. And I'm here to talk you through those teams. So we're going to start off with the defence. Sheffield United, there is a lot of discussion in the fan base at the minute about whether we're going to go to a 5 like we did in the previous game. I myself have said about the 4. And I just want to run you through what I think the team might be in some of those key battles in those key positions for Sheffield United and Leeds United. So for Sheffield United, obviously Ahmed Hodzic has to start in that back 4 or 5. I'm going to start with the 4. I believe he'll pick Harry Clark at right back, Ahmed Hodzic at centre half with Jack Robinson. I believe he'd still pick him in a 4 at this moment in time. And then Harrison Burrows at left back, I believe, has to start the game. There is a call for, in some parts, for us to go to a 5. We sort of did that against Luton recently, and it was quite successful with Rob Holding coming in to make a 3 at centre half, and then obviously with the 2 wing backs as well. In the 4, personally, I believe that Gilchrist would be a better option. In the 5, Clark may be the better option, but we'll have to wait and see what Wilder's thinking about and whether he's going to go for that. The opposition at this point, looking at them, they played obviously a big game recently against Sunderland, and they went with Pirro up top, who's having a fantastic season. So he's on 14 goals for the season and 5 assists. So he's got fantastic stats playing at the top. He gets the most chances and he takes a lot of them. So he's doing really, really well. Supported by Aronson just behind. He's got 8 goals this season, which is a really impressive total for him, as I don't necessarily associate him with being a massive goal scorer, but he's really knocking him in this year, and fair play to him for that. His strength lies in his energy, I believe. I think he's really, really busy, really good on the press, triggers the press for them at the top of the pitch a lot of the time, and puts opposition teams get strangled sometimes in that press. We're going to have to be very brave to get out of that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I think the player that's done the best for them this season so far is James. I think he's an improved player. I think he's obviously showed going to Man United, having that calibre. He's got the pace. He's always had the pace, but he's matching that up with end product now with 10 goals and 6 assists. An amazing start to the season. Well, start to the season, 3/4 of the season for him, and he'll look to obviously finish off with nearer 15 goals, which is an amazing return for a right winger in this league. Solomon, who I know is a good player, went to Spurs and got injured, and I know a lot of my mates who are Spurs fans. I've got about 3 or 4 Spurs fans who are mates of mine who are Spurs fans, and they rated him at the time. He's got 7 goals, 7 assists, and I think he again is one of those two flyers on either side, which I've said equips them quite nicely for the Premier League. Where's my worry? My worry is in a 4 across the back. I do worry for Clark and Burrows against the two wide men. I think that's where they do a lot of their damage in those wide areas, and also the late changes that they can bring into the game with Ramazani and potentially Nonto on either flank. I think that is the danger area and could be the reason that Wilder pushes us into that 5 for extra cover. And if we're going to soak up a lot of pressure in terms of possession, that could be the way to go. And I'll leave that to Chris Wilder, because I've been quite vocal about us having a 4, but the more I look at it, it could be the way to go. So we move into midfield now. The key battle in there will be, if we're under pressure, can the Blades keep them at bay and then have the bravery in possession to then break and look dangerous? When I watched Sunderland against Leeds recently, I thought that they were really brave in possession, and they made some really, really good chances by conceding a lot of possession. Obviously, that's what's going to happen at Ellen Road a lot of the time. Whether that's going to be the same at Bramall Lane, we'll have to wait and see. Vinny Sousa's our destroyer in there. It's about whether Wilder thinks that Hamza Chowdhury, with his experience and with his mobility, whether he'd be the choice in there. I think most of the fan base would like to see Sidney Peck in there after some really, really impressive performances this season. Yes, some of them have been unbelievable, and yes, when he was quite tired, they weren't quite the same. But that key battle in there is going to be with them, with Tanaka, who I believe will definitely 100% start for Leeds. He's been a fantastic addition to their side and a real technician in there. I think his passing and the way he manipulates the ball and controls the ball is something that keeps them ticking over an awful lot. Gruev in there as well. I don't know whether he'll start this game, because I think that Rothwell, who I really do rate actually, I think he was unlucky when he went to Bournemouth and got injured to be that back down in the playing in the Championship, to be fair. But he produced 2 bits of quality which unlocked the door for him the other night. And I think he'll be pushing to start this game. Again, another good technician, probably better in possession than our centre mids, it is fair to say, and more likely, like you say, to keep Leeds ticking and to keep them withholding possession of the ball. So yeah, I think it's a key battle in there. I think both sides would admit, if by some miracle both Sheffield United and Leeds United didn't go up this season, I think we'd certainly lose Vinny Sousa. I think they'd definitely lose Tanaka as well, because I think he's been different class for them in the centre. So yeah, another key battle. It'll be intriguing to see how that pans out and whether the midfield battle can be won and who can come out on top in that one. I think that Callum O'Hare is an essential cog in this team. I think he's been rested recently, but he was essential in that victory over Middlesbrough. I think he has to play. I think he's the one that breaks the line. He's the one that pushes us forward, keeps us ticking all the way through. He's got a really good understanding with Campbell. And Tyrese Campbell, I believe, is the key to this game for us. If Sheffield United are going to break through and put them under real pressure, I think that the link between O'Hare and Campbell could be essential. We're hoping Gus Hamer is fit. If he is fit, he will start on the left-hand side and hopefully be able to get at Jayden Bogle, who is having a good season, and fair play to him, because a lot of United fans were quite critical of him in terms of his defensive work. Never going forward, always have been able to carry the ball and carry a goal threat. He's always scored goals as well. In fact, he's got 4 this season for Leeds and 2 assists, so he's doing ever so well for them. My personal opinion is that Raksaki should be playing in this game, because I believe that if we are going to play on the counter, then he's going to be somebody who can get at the defenders of Leeds United and cause them problems 1v1. He's actually got 6 goals for us and 2 assists. I think his output has been a little bit, certainly that doesn't match up to a lot of the Leeds forwards at the moment, but I think he's been a little bit in and out of the team. He had that injury and illness, didn't he? So he had a really good game the other day against Middlesbrough, and I think he's primed to start that game. The question is here, if we do go 5 at the back and 2, then we've only got 3 positions up front. If we have only got 3 positions, I believe it will be O'Hare, Hamer and Campbell who would start the game, everyone being happy and fit. If Hamer's unavailable, which there is a chance, obviously he sat out the last game, I believe it should be Raksaki, and I think Brembert and Diaz might have to settle for a place on the bench. If he's brave and he goes for 4 at the back, I believe it would be Hamer, O'Hare, Raksaki and then Campbell, which is kind of how we've played most of the season. And if Hamer is unavailable, then it'd be Brereton Diaz on that left-hand side, who's obviously proven goals at the level and obviously poses that threat of being alive in the box and running in behind. So I think that matching those up against the Leeds defenders, so we've got Bogle, I believe it'll be Roden and Ampadu, although Struijk might be pressing his claim. He's got 5 goals this season, believe it or not, and he scored goals against us last game and 2 in the last game as well, so he may be someone that comes off the bench, but he might be pushing for a starting berth. And then Firpo at left back, 1 goal, 7 assists, so he likes to get forward as well. I believe they can be got at, and they are not going to be invincible, but they have got a really good defensive record. So 20 goals conceded for Leeds this season, 23 for Sheffield United, so very close in that respect. 68 scored for Leeds this season and 47 for Sheffield United. So there is a lot more goals in that team, and they are spread quite evenly across that front 4. So there is threat all across the pitch. So how does that look for us? Well, I think that Leeds would start as favourites, but there are a few things I would say that will hopefully appease some Sheffield United supporters and make us feel a little bit more confident going into the game. So Leeds' away record, they've actually only won 44% of their away matches this season, and Sheffield United winning 75% of their home games. So Leeds are a different animal, home and away, and we've played them at Elland Road, where they do win 82% of their matches. So just over 4 out of 5 games they win at home, and we're winning 3 out of 4 at home. So that should give us the incentive to believe that we can definitely go and win this game. I think it is down to a few key positions. I think the Leeds wide forwards are a massive, massive threat, and that's the part of the game for them that we're going to have to get right. For Sheffield United, the key to our success is doing what we've done all season, and that's hang around in games sometimes when we're not playing well or having to concede quite a lot of possession. The final factors are obviously the managers, who I think that there's a bit of an embarrassment of riches for Leeds on the bench, but Sheffield United's bench has never been stronger this season, and they have obviously had to put with putting in a lot of kids on the bench and not having those players to come on and change games, but still picking up lots of key results. What sort of influence will the benches have on these nights? So like I said before, Sheffield United have improved their bench significantly. The bench the other night for Leeds was Struijk, who, like I said, may be pushing for a start. Rothwell, who I think is a class player at this level, and obviously is no loss if he ends up playing or starting the game or coming off the bench. Ramzani, who is an absolute flyer, who can get at defences as well. Sam Byram, who's always been steady at the level and experienced as well, to come in at the back. Matteo Joseph, who's quite quick and has nicked goals and winners for Leeds United this season already. And obviously Willie Gnonto, who's everyone's a bit of a surprise really, because at the start of the season I think a lot of Leeds fans would have said he's our best player and he's going to be absolutely essential. He's got 5 goals, 5 assists this season. Not the same numbers as Solomon and James, who have made those positions their own, because I think that obviously Gnonto's a bit of a weapon. Now the Blades bench, the much improved Blades bench I should add, Andre Brooks I would expect to be part of that bench, Tom Davis, Sam McCallum, Kiefer Moore, who we think might be fit for the game, and he'd be a very useful addition off the bench for Sheffield United. Ryan Brewster potentially, Hamza Chowdhury potentially, depending on whether he starts. And then the goalkeepers, Davis, more experienced than Faxon. I don't expect either of those to come on, obviously. It'd be a very sad day for Sheffield United if we had to take off Super Cooper in goal. Ryan One, who's done well for us this season, but again, we think he probably needs a bit more seasoning, should we say. Maybe a loan move would have been good for him this year. And finally, Norrington Davis, and another question about a few others. Tom Cannon, obviously at this level, has scored goals this season, 10 goals, I think, something like that. He could be an absolute weapon for us off the bench if he's fit. He's been seen in a boot recently. Femi Siriki, who's everyone's desperate to get back, because we think he's probably one of the most exciting players with one of the highest ceilings in our team, if he comes back and can continue his improvement that he's shown this season, which would be obviously amazing. But yeah, who's to know what we're going to do with regards to the formation and those key battles on the pitch. The centre midfielders, we're going to be combative. The tackles are going to be going in. And the key thing here is, what do the stats mean? Well, our last 8 games, these are the 2 form teams in the division, the 2 best teams in the division, been the top 2 for some time now. Last 8 games, Sheffield United won 7, lost 1. 21 points. Leeds United have won 6 and drawn 2, so they've got 20 points in the last 8 games. So it's very, 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 very even indeed. And it's about whether those stats mean anything. It's a Yorkshire derby. The stats from the last game, which Leeds won quite comfortably, but they didn't dominate as much as you might have thought, with 55% possession in the game. And they had 4 shots on target to our 0. So that, I mean, a complete shutout on their part. So I think that might prompt Wilder to be a little bit braver than he was in that first game, because the big change of personnel and system, I don't think did us a great deal of credit as a club, really. But Michael Cooper in that game only made 2 saves, so it wasn't the dominant performance that people have said. I thought that they obviously used their bench incredibly well in that game, and they certainly used their bench in the last game really, really well, bringing on Rothwell and Stroke, who ended up changing the game for Leeds. I think the benches are going to be important. I think we've got more power there now than we ever have in this season. Position I haven't mentioned is the goalkeepers, and I think that there's no Leeds fan out there who believes Meslier is a better keeper than Cooper. And sometimes these derby games are about big moments. One moment in the game where one player does something special, and then sometimes you are relying on your goalkeeper to pull you out of the trouble. I'm much happier going into this game with Michael Cooper between the sticks than Meslier, because he's proven this season he's got a prang in him, and it's just about can Sheffield United manage that risk and reward? Can we keep those danger men at bay, and then can we link up in attack to go and capitalise? Because I believe the key to that is O'Hare, Campbell, Hamer, fingers crossed Hamer, or Raksaki, who can go and produce those little moments of magic to try and sneak that goal that could put Leeds under pressure. They were certainly under pressure the other night, and the stats will tell us that this is a Yorkshire derby, and again between the 2 best teams in the division. And I'm just hopeful that it's primed to be a draw. I don't think either side will want to lose. And will it define the season? No. I think there will be bigger games coming up in the next sort of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, where there'll be games which will decide whether these 2 sides are in that top 2. But for the time being, this is the monster fixture on a big weekend for two big clubs who are both primed and ready for the Premier League. Up the Blades, up the Ramble.
Let's go! Let's go!